Hey, what's up? This is Jamal Abbott. Thanks for tuning in. Here to talk to you today about the mid-band spectrum results for 5G deployment. So, very interesting. We just learned here in the last week or so that the results came out for the mid-band spectrum auction that took place back in December. So, the FCC, just to give you a quick recap of what's going on here, FCC auctioned out specific spectrum. So spectrum is like the real estate needed for cell phone providers and other communication providers to broadcast their signals out for customers to use their 5G networks and other wireless networks. So if you have the spectrum, you're able to use it, you're able to monetize it, and there's only a limited amount of that. It's basically a natural resource. So it's managed, it's maintained by the FCC, who then in turn license that out to different providers. So, what happened here recently, back in December, we had quite a few communication providers line up and to bid on the mid band spectrum. And then, just to give you a quick recap, we have three different frequencies that we're concerned with 5G. We have low band, and the low band is used to cover a broad range of an area and provides the best coverage, but not the fastest signals that's needed when we're talking about 5G. They're going to be fast, but they're just not as fast as what's presently out there. Then you have midband. Midband is a sweet spot between coverage as well as speed, and this gives the ability to provide some speeds up into the couple hundred megabits per second. Then you have high band, or the high frequency spectrum. This is the spectrum that is very delicate in the sense that it does not travel that far, but it provides the highest capacity possible when it comes to bandwidth and speed and things of that nature. So Verizon, they're definitely in the lead when it comes to the high band spectrum. That's what they've been using for their ultra wideband network. And AT&T and T-Mobile both have that type of spectrum in their portfolio, but it's not something that they talk about a whole lot. So going back to what transpired back in December, this particular meeting was for the mid-band spectrum, and the bids for that auction came up to nearly $81 billion. So let me say this slowly again, $81 billion. And I have a breakdown of who spent what. So towards the top was Verizon, and they spent over $45 billion on this mid-band spectrum that they're going to be using for 5G. Next after that was AT&T at over $23 billion, and then T-Mobile at $9 billion. What's interesting about this auction is that the amount of money spent by all the carriers, and there's other service providers that were involved in this, but we're mainly concerned about the big three here. It was expected that Verizon would be spending quite a bit of money in this particular auction, is because of the fact that they didn't have this type of spectrum as an asset for their network. So they needed to get a lot of this, and so they can build out this network effectively, this network being the 5G network. What's interesting, though, is that even though they spent $45 billion, they still, and this is according to T-Mobile, they still don't have enough spectrum to what T-Mobile currently has from the Sprint transaction. So last April, that's when the Sprint deal closed with T-Mobile that gave them access to the Sprint network as well as some of the other assets that the Sprint has. And then one of those assets was the mid-band spectrum. And with this spectrum and with this asset, they were able to completely basically jump ahead of the rest of the competition when it comes to AT&T and Verizon. So was listening on a call earlier today, actually a presentation earlier today, and they talked about how T-Mobile still has over 2 times the amount of spectrum that Verizon has when it comes to the mid-band spectrum for 5G. So I think that's pretty amazing that T-Mobile has that much spectrum, and they're clearly taking advantage of that lead right now. So we'll see what these companies do with this. They got some checks to write, and down payments are due on March 10th. So if you can imagine, that's going to be a quite a big check to write as a down payment for the spectrum, but it's needed. If they don't write these checks, if they don't compete in this area, they're going to get left behind, and their customers are just going to go somewhere else. So this is kind of the cost of doing business for these providers. So we'll see how the debt hangs on the balance sheet. We'll see what they do to pay this off, and then we'll see what they do with this technology. That's what I'm most excited about. But just want to bring you up to date with what's going on here with 5G. So we'll be bringing some more insights to what's going on with 5G. There's a lot of news that's going to be coming here in the next couple weeks. There's also going to be some investor calls from Verizon, AT&T, and T-Mobile, and we'll break those down individually just to hear their thoughts about how they're thinking about 5G and then where things are going. So another thing to keep in mind too is that there's going to be another auction later on this year. Looks like it's going to be sometime in October, and the FCC is going to auction off some additional spectrum for mid-band. So last to say about this, there's some plans for nationwide mid-band 5G coverage. So we're already there with low band, and each of the three carriers accomplished that last year back in 2020. So this year, T-Mobile is saying that they'll have their mid-band nationwide 5G network done sometime around the end of the year. But we'll probably get some more information and more updates about where that's going to go and then how they plan on addressing that. So looking forward to that. So if you have any questions, please let me know. Would love to hear your feedback. You have a couple different ways of reaching me. You can hit me up and at my number, 725-500-5132. Once again, 725-500-5132. You can text me, and I would love to get your feedback, answer any questions there. You can email me, jamal@thePhoneGuy.com, and that's THA, phoneguy.com. Shoot me an email and give me some feedback there. Or you can go to my website, and that's jamalabbott.com, and there's a section for contact. Hit me up. I would love to answer any questions or just to get your thoughts on this episode. And are you excited about what's happening with 5G? I know I am. So once again, this is Jamal Abbott. Thanks again for tuning in. I'll talk to you soon.